All right, let's get into it. We're about to unpack one of the smartest engineering strategies I've ever come across. And we're going to do it by looking at a super high-stakes, real-world example, how GitHub basically performed open-heart surgery on itself while the entire world was still using it.
No, really, just take a second and think about that. Imagine you go to push your latest commit, and nothing happens. You try to open a pull request, and you just get an error page. Not for a minute, for a whole day, maybe even a week.
And look, that's not being dramatic. For a huge slice of the global tech world, it would be an absolute stop-everything catastrophe. GitHub isn't just a place to store code anymore, you know? It's pretty much the central nervous system for how modern software gets built. And a while back, that very system was heading straight for a crisis. So yeah, that brings us to the core of the problem. GitHub's own incredible success was creating this ticking time bomb right at the very heart of its own infrastructure. See, GitHub was just exploding in popularity. Millions of users, countless repositories, and all of that amazing growth was putting this insane strain on their original database. The system that worked perfectly for a startup was now creaking and groaning as a critical bottleneck for a global platform. The whole thing was becoming unstable, and the risk of a massive catastrophic failure, well, that was getting more and more real with every passing day. So they had to do something. The big question was, how? I mean, how do you replace the engine of a jumbo jet while it's flying at 30,000 feet with the entire software industry on board as passengers?
Well, the standard way of doing this, the old playbook, is something called a Big Bang migration. You basically schedule a massive outage for the weekend, you get everyone in a room, you hold your breath, flip a giant switch, and just pray that everything turns back on correctly.
And this just lays out the choice so perfectly. On one side, you've got the Big Bang. For a service like GitHub, that was an absolutely unacceptable risk. One tiny mistake could mean permanent data loss, a complete breakdown of trust. But on the other side, there was this other idea, something slower, safer, and honestly, way more clever. And this is where the story gets really, really cool. Instead of looking at old engineering textbooks, the team at GitHub looked somewhere totally different for inspiration: the natural world. The whole concept is taken directly from nature. You've got these things called strangler figs. They start out as just a tiny little vine on a big established tree. But over years and years, that vine sends down roots, it thickens, it wraps itself around the host, and it slowly, methodically envelops the original tree until the old tree just withers away. All that's left is the new, strong fig tree standing in its place. The transition is so gradual, you'd barely even notice it happening. Okay, so how in the world do you apply a beautiful, organic idea like that to a messy, super complex database migration? Let's break down exactly what GitHub did. They split this massive project into 3 parallel tracks that could all run at the same time without messing anything up. First, and this is key, any new features got built on the new system. That stopped them from adding more weight to the old, dying tree. Second, they started moving data over, but just piece by piece, constantly checking and validating that every single bit was perfect. And third, they began rerouting users to the new system, but only one tiny feature at a time, and always with a kill switch to instantly roll back if anything looked even slightly off. The beauty of this whole approach was the incredible reduction in risk. Instead of one giant, terrifying, all-or-nothing moment, it became thousands of tiny, safe, and totally reversible steps. They kept the platform stable and, most importantly, kept everyone's data safe, the 2 things that matter most, throughout the entire multi-year process. So, what's the big lesson here for the rest of us? I mean, why does this story matter, even if you're not a database engineer? This quote really just nails it. When you're dealing with a critical system, and that could be a piece of technology, a business process, heck, even a personal habit, evolution is almost always safer and more effective than a dramatic, all-at-once revolution. So let's just boil this down. What are the core principles you can actually use? 1, go gradual. Replace things piece by piece. 2, constantly check your work. Make sure your data is solid. 3, always have an escape hatch, a way to roll back. And finally, number 4, stop making the old system bigger. Build all your new stuff on the new foundation. And that's the real power here. This isn't just a software idea, it's a mental model. Think about changing a core process at your company, or updating how your team collaborates. A big bang change is disruptive, it's risky, but a gradual, strangler fig approach, that lets you evolve without ever breaking the very thing you're trying to improve. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your own work, maybe even in your own life. What's that essential, too-big-to-fail system that feels absolutely impossible to change? Maybe the answer isn't a risky, all-or-nothing explosion, but a patient, powerful, and natural evolution.